Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and welcome back to another early game playbook video as we're covering Zhang Yan, the King of the Black Mountains today. Now I'm super excited to actually bring you this guide because we're doing something very special, a bit exploitative, but it's definitely worth it. We're going to be finding our king a queen, and the strategy showcased here is all geared toward confederating Zhang Jiang's faction through marriage in the very early game of your gameplay. It will take some exploits, and we'll explain exactly what we will do, but most of this is legit, and since the game will no longer patch or have future DLCs to change things, this guide will work for the future. So if you're watching this in the future, you can definitely follow step by step to securing your queen, the bandit queen Zhang Jiang. And this is the upside and downside of no longer getting support from CA. For one thing, we have done some pretty creative things in many of our guides in the past, including confederating the entire Han Empire early on as Dong Zhuo, or wiping out Cao Cao on the very first turn as Liu Chong. But unfortunately, those things get spotted by the developers after they watch these guides too, and then they patch it, and they change it, and we can't follow those fun guides anymore. Now, this is up for grabs. And previously, on the launch of the game, this was a very standard strategy to confederate each other as Bandit Queen or Bandit King, because you start out very close to each other, as we can see on the map that in the 190 start, Zhang Yan's right here in the Black Mountains and Zhang Jiang's right here. But then, developer caught on to this strategy because you can make false promises in diplomacy with per turn gold, and then you can get a pretty easy marriage. So they made it harder by giving Zhang Yan a wife and kid, and giving Zhang Jiang a very high tendency to marry the males inside her faction so that she will get a husband on turn 1. And to make matters worse, after testing this strategy out, Zhang Jiang actually will marry right off the bat if there's another male in the faction, meaning if you kill one husband, she will have a new husband the very next turn. So the strategy needs to revolve around killing every single male member of her faction before absorbing her into your faction. So you usually need to kill 2 husbands to get it done. So it's kind of tricky, and that's why we need to use a bit of exploit to overcome this developer designed obstacle in our way. So we'll be doing that. There's a lot of things to talk about for bandit factions. There's a lot of new things like counties being different stances on the army, and we will talk about those things in the upcoming guides for Zhang Jiang and Yan Baihu, as they are the guides designed for next week and the week after. We're doing basically the bandit arc of our starter guides. So for this guide, we'll only talk about things we'll actually use. Things like our unique units, things like mercenary contract, which is something that we will talk about in depth in this episode. So other things we'll talk about in Zhang Jiang's guide, in Yan Baihu's guide, just to keep things a bit concise. Alright, we will still introduce the faction a little bit. So Zhang Yan's faction focuses on ambush and opportunistic diplomacy, which we are going to use fully. I'm laughing a little bit thinking about this because we're basically pushing a lot of diplomatic buttons here. Now, they didn't mean what we're going to do when they said this. What they meant is that we can improve relationship with Yellow Turbans or with Han factions by using different branches of our special building. We're just taking that concept a little bit farther here. Aside from this special building, which we'll take a look at once we get into game, we have 3 unique units that's unlocked for all characters of all classes at rank 1, rank 3, and rank 5. And they are the dual axe wielding Black Mountain Marauders, which are really good charge unit. They are the spear variant, and finally an axe and bow variant. Of the 3, I like the dual axe the best because they have really high charge and they really just function like shock cavalry for you. And the main thing for all 3 of these units is that they cause scare. And since Zhang Yan's faction's calling card is able to ambush when attacking, you pretty much have these guys at close range to the enemy right off the bat. You charge at them, you cause scare, hopefully you have night battle as well, and you just rout the enemy with your units here. So that's kind of what they're designed to do. But bandit factions as a whole, in my opinion, lack strong units, and these units are not strong. They just have a special role to play in most of your ambush fight, and that's your specialty as a faction. As you can see from the character selection screen, there is no important character. We're the only one that's important. As a matter of fact, we're going to be firing pretty much everyone and getting a divorce on turn 1, because not only does she have too many husbands, we have a wife and we need to get rid of her, and we need to find something that she can do for us to give us some extra wealth so that we can pursue our new wife. Aside from that, we mentioned that there is mercenary treaties. These are treaties that you can enter as a bandit faction with any other faction in the game to help them fight their wars. It will return money for you per turn. You can also receive rewards periodically for doing well against those targets. Or in our case, we're going to be ignoring the targets entirely, and I'll talk about what penalties you'll get if you kind of neglect a mercenary treaty. And spoiler alert, it doesn't really hurt you. And that's pretty much it. As a character, Zhang Yan's very, very strong. The armor, which we'll see in game, provides fatigue immunity. It's one of the few armors in the game that does that, makes you very good at kiting. Combine that with stubborn, which gives you unbreakable, and you have an idea of what I want to do with Zhang Yan to help us push for this win. The other traits are pretty bad. We're not going to talk too much about them as we are faction leaders, and most of these negative effects doesn't actually bother us, and we have a good chance of re-rolling these skills using the new faction council mechanic. Our faction-wide bonuses are ignore forest penalties, which comes in handy during ambushes unless we're ambushing in the northwest, which is in desert, and there are no trees when you ambush like that. Plus 50% post-battle loot income, plus 3 rank for all Black Mountain units, all pretty useful. A lot of fighting income for the faction, and it's going to help us as a bandit faction. Now, we'll be showcasing this on Legendary 40 minutes, and we'll just jump right in. China must be liberated.
董卓一番洗劫之下，洛阳城已焚为灰烬。
这厮真是无耻狗贼！不过这诸侯官家之事，与我何干？
大王，此人挟持皇帝，以致天下大乱。
当下还有其他要务，黄巾诸党军事突起，其信仰狂热，跟董卓是一模一样。还有这联军，本就孱弱。 若还让袁绍当盟主，那怎么也强不起来。他领导之下有何作为？什么都没有。他不是这块料。
天下还有其他盗匪，其他猛士。
郑江势头正猛，虽说自私自利，沽名钓誉，但是强势可靠。与其相信自负的诸侯，我倒宁愿相信郑江。
张燕大王，在下。 希望您能率领黑山雄兵，扫平天下的酒囊饭袋之辈。
Alrighty, so we got our flyby, and we want to establish our power. Lord Zhang Yan. The warlords of China have descended into civil war. Perhaps the time has come for you to descend from the mountains and make yourself known. Opportunity is found in chaos, if you have the strength to seize it. You have found allies in the warlords before, and there may yet be more to be found with the strongest of them. Yet any who oppose you, even the tyrant himself, must be crushed by the power of the Black Mountain bandits. Claim Han regions, be wary of Zhengjiang. Don't worry, we'll take care of her right off the bat. And our first mission is to engage in the battle with Yangbiao, and we'll get Taste of Victory, which will introduce a concept of loot, which is something we're actually not going to talk about in this guide. If you are new to the game and have no idea what loot is or how it replaces military supplies, I'll talk about this in a future bandit guide, or in previous bandit guides actually, if you want to revisit those. Even though the patch is a little bit different, the concept of loot is the same. Now, jumping ahead, we usually do diplomacy on turn 1. But as we take a quick peek, we can't do anything, because our only targets are factions we're at war with, or Yellow Turbans, which have no basically diplomatic options early on. If they ascend to a higher tier, they can trade with us and become vassals, but that takes a long time. So basically, you can only war with them early on. So that's not really an option right now. So we can actually just jump into the fight. Now we can take note of what we got. It's not very important. We're not going to be relying on any of these items. You will always start with 1 stone pig, and I believe your silver weapons, and that's it. Everything else is spawned. Oh, maybe that Iron Snake, right? So 2 bronze item is always in your inventory. The Iron Snake and the Stone Pig, and that's about it. Everything else is basically comes from your first turn luck. And the first thing we're going to do is take our army and delegate against them because there's no diplomacy to be had. And you can see we can't offensively ambush, which is great, but we're just going to be delegating because you can definitely pull off the strategy whether you delegate or you fight this manually. You can fight this super cleanly with your generals if you want, but we're just going to delegate here. And if you do fight it with your generals, have Zhang Yan duel him so you get extra experience. Make sure you ask for the duel, not accept their duel, as there is a huge difference in experience. We'll take more income. He's dead. If you capture him by any chance, just release for extra money. He's not really worth it, even though he was historically one of the Grand Excellencies. We'll be capturing the Lumberyard next. It's right in front of us, support of the people. Very standard early game bonuses, and we got experience for winning our first battle. We'll be winning our second battle. Even though it shows we can't reach, you somehow can. It's a graphical error. And we'll be also delegating this one. And we leveled up. So with Zhang Yan reaching level 2, our next mission, by the way, is to build a building inside the capital here, not in the county. The county upgrade does not count, but we'll get your economy growth, which is very important. And we got another 1,000 for capturing territory. And what we're going to do here is level him up. You can see our roster of generals, including our wife. Our wife is most useless because she is not a bandit, so there's no poison volley. Of these generals, Li Damu is probably the most useful because not only does he start out with mending, he's modest, which is very nice. Stern is not bad for some industry income, and also good stats. Honorable, it's bad for capturing, but other than that, it's pretty good stat as well as lack of desire for higher office combined with this one. He pretty much will never gain desire for higher office, so quite a decent character. Enforcer can also help reduce desire for other characters within his army, but unfortunately, we're not keeping anyone. So first things first, we level up. We're barely level 2. We want to go down for flexibility, for faction-wide bonuses, extra replenishment, all positives here, and then we're also going to pick up reach. Then we see a new faction, so we can now do some diplomacy. Liu Yu is our only neighbor that we can talk to, and here's where we will use a lot of the diplomatic tricks we learned from Cao Cao's guide, in case you're curious. And what we're going to do is look at our options, right? We have trade, 0.4. Most of this value is decreased because of opinion on this idea. Opinions are based on attitude, current attitude. This thing can trend if we sign certain deals. And if we look at non-aggressions, -2, opinions -4 on this. Military access, -7 opinion on this, -5 for the value. Keep in mind these values. And before we do anything with him, we're going to get our house in order. By our house, I mean we're going to divorce our wife. So we got to spend 1,000 here. Don't worry, she'll return more than 1,000 to us. And she retains the distant relative because we have a son together. So since our son's in the faction, the mom automatically is part of the family. This is why if you want to marry multiple members of the same clan, you have to divorce right away after you take one of their kids. For example, if you want both Sun Ce and Sun Ren, if you can lure Sun Ce through marriage, then afterward you must divorce immediately if in the future you want to also marry Sun Ren into the faction, or else you guys will be distant relatives. If you make them stay together and have a kid, then it'll be too late to even use divorce as a method to take out this distant relative. But right now, the fact that she is a distant relative is going to help us as Liu Yu has a son named Liu He. Taking a look at this relationship, it's 6.1, but notice how here we have -10 on opinion. So there's actually huge rooms of improvements for this. And we're going to actually improve this before using this deal, even though 6.1 looks super tempting here. And what we're going to do first is use mercenary contract. We're going to help him in his war against Dongzhuo. So he must be at war with that faction for you to aid them. Whether you are at war with them or not does not matter. So pick a faction, and you can see here the value that he will give this. This is entirely based on military strength as well as their attitude towards the target faction. So the 5 points we're getting here is how much he hates Dongzhuo. has nothing to do with us, right? For us, all this has to do is our military strength. So this is actually a super good deal to do first, because signing any sort of deals like this will be improving our future relationship. Thus, all the other deals will get better that has negative opinions so far. Now, what can we get from this? Normally, when you're doing a mercenary contract, you always want to opt for payments per turn, because payments per turn will be paid out for 20 turns, which is the length of the contract, rather than the usual 10 turns. Now, the game will take into account that you're getting 20 turns, so you're not going to get extra value here, but this should come out to about 34. And you see there's 1 point left over. Well, we can give him, let's say, exactly 18, which is how much point 1 is worth. You can't do 17, for example, here. And you could get 1 more point, right, from 34 to 35, which on paper looks good because you're getting 20 more essentially for that 1 extra, and you're paying 18. But in reality, what I want to do with this deal is I want to have this deal time out. So how mercenary treaties work in the game is at the start of a treaty, you get 40 points of what's called fame and fortune. It's a resource point for the treaty. It goes from 0 to 100. For every battle you fight against the target faction, or for any settlement you take away from the target faction, you gain more fame and fortune. And the higher tier you are with fame and fortune, the more reward the faction will give you periodically during the treaty, right? They can give you offers of money, offers of items, or if you're greedy, you can trade in some fame and fortune for both money and item. And sometimes the item can be a gold item. So it's actually a really good type of deal to use. However, in our case, Dong Zhuo's target is very difficult for us to actually fight because we're surrounded by his vassal, the Han Empire, and you can't target vassals using mercenary contract. So we have to target Dong Zhuo, but we have no target to hit because Dong Zhuo is all the way here in Chang'an. He's not actually near us. So for the next 10 turns, we're going to time out our initial 40 points of fame and fortune. It goes away 4 points of decay per turn. So by turn 11, we'll run out and we'll void the contract because we failed to produce. So it's our fault. We are breaking a treaty. The punishment of failing a mercenary treaty is that we will have untrustworthy for breaking a treaty, similar to breaking a treaty to go to war. It'd be a minus 10 point hit that goes away 1 point per turn. So basically after 10 turns, we're back to trustworthy, 0 point. Other than that, the faction that we have the treaty with, Liu Yu, will lose 70 points of attitude towards us for breaking a deal. And in addition to that, for the next 10 turns, we lose 5 points of attitude with every single faction in the game because we failed to deliver on a promise. Those punishments does not hurt us at all, because what we can do with that situation is we can use this deal to boost our relationship with him by, getting a lot of money from all the other deals. And by turn 11, when this deal ends and he hates us by 70 points, he will still be positive. Not only will he still be positive, at that point, the AI usually tunnel visions pretty hard, and Dong Zhuo's army have taken up some of these Han Empire territories by annexing them, and he will be at your front door, pretty much right here, usually in Hedong, and you will have a target to fight, and you can immediately enter into a new treaty, even with him. Because remember, mercenary treaties do not actually use opinions. It only uses military strength and his opinion of the target faction, not his opinion of you. So he can hate you and still sign a very positive mercenary treaty with you. So at that time, just enter into a new treaty with him and actually deliver and fight Dong Zhuo and get paid along the way, and you will lose nothing. So this is a great way to get an early relationship boost. And since I am determined to not deliver on this treaty, I am not going to get paid for 20 turns. I am only going to get paid for 10 turns. Therefore, this 1 extra point is not worth 20. It's worth only 10. So I'm not doing this. I'm going to waste that 1 point here and just get this deal through. All right, deal signed. We're not done. We're very far from being done. And just because we raise the trending points, right, we get the plus 20, we're now trending towards 23, doesn't mean his opinion of us is better. The opinion in the game is based on these color schemes and faces. At 0 point, that's the neutral breakpoint. So at 0, you will get a boost in opinion. Right now that boost means -4, -10 because we're playing on higher difficulties. Once we hit 15 points, actually higher than 15 points, so 16 points, we'll be friendly. You'll see this little face become light green and the opinion will improve. At 60 points, you will become very friendly and the opinion will improve, and 150 points, you'll become best friends, and that's where opinions usually just leave the equation. Now, we're not going to see best friend status with Liu Yu, but we are going to generate best friend status with Zhang Jiang. That's how we are going to marry her after murdering 2 of her husbands. So, first thing we're going to do here is boost this current attitude towards 15 plus. Right? Because we want to be at this friendly level so we get better deals. Because reminder, the deals right now, they kind of suck. So we're going to give him 1 copper coin each, because every deal refreshes the current attitude. So even though this deal doesn't make a dent in terms of improving our relationship, it will shift the current attitude towards the final trending amount. So we're going to do this a couple times. Bear with us. It's worth it. And we're at 12 already, and we need to be over 15. We need to be at 16 for the first one. It's kind of weird. You have to be at 16 for the first one, but then here you just have to be exactly a 60, and then here you just have to be exactly 150. And we are at 15. You can check at 15. It's still the same deal. Nothing has changed. But if we just go over it, we're at 17, and now everything's different. You see the face becomes light green, and the deals become sweeter. 2.4, 1.0, and the marriage. Remember it was 6.1? 10.1. Right, so combining these deals is the worst thing you can do because you want to actually do them separately to get the most value. And which one do we actually want to do first? In here, you actually want to do the marriage first. The reason is you can actually improve these 2 farther. You can get 1 more point at each one. You can get 2.0 and 3.4 because the marriage will make you guys related, and he will improve this trend beyond 60. And you can do the same thing to actually improve it to 60, and then you can get more value from your other 2 trade. And for this one, we can get 170 here. Now the opposite is not true because the marriage will give us plus 40, whereas trade and non-aggression will not improve it by that much with a single deal. He values obviously marriage a lot more. You don't have to take cash. I advise you take cash unless he has a great item. He does not. So if you had like a concubine or a philosopher or a legalist fanatic, you want to get those items. But in this case, he does not have it, but it's always nice to check. We'll just take cash here. And then you have to patiently give him, 1 copper coin at a time until he raises his trending beyond 60, which takes a little bit of time, I have to say, because the max is only 63. I think it takes 9 payment, maybe 10. We started at 1403, which was our copper amount there, and we'll see what we end up at when we get him over 60. I vaguely remember testing it out at 9. And yes, it's a lot of work for just, marginally increasing income. But really it's not that marginal because you're getting 2 whole points of deals, which amounts to maybe like 300 income, and you're only spending a little bit of time and about 9 copper coins to get about 300 back. So I say it's definitely worth it. You can see the face is turning darker green. We're approaching 60, we're at 55. A few more here. Not misclicked. Or it's bugging out, so we just gotta click something else and go back to it. It happens. 57. And so far we're not really exploiting anything. We will exploit things. This is perfectly legal. This is just refreshing the current amount. I don't think this is a cheese at all. This is very legal maneuvering in my book. We're going to do some very illegal maneuvering very soon. Alright, we're at 60. We don't need to be over 60. At 60 is enough. You'll see this becomes 2.0, this becomes 3.4. And here you don't want to do it together, because the more you can break it down, as long as this value is low, the better it's going to be for you. Because at 5.4 you get 112, which is not that great, because at 3.4 you can get 88. And by the way, for 2.0 you can get 63. That's 151. So that's a lot more than 112. I think 39 more, 390 difference, big deal. So let's get 88 here. And then go back to him. Non-aggression. We said 63. There we go. And at this point, we really milked him dry. There's like not much we can get. Here, you can't really lose those 2 points of opinion unless you raise him over 150, which is just not worth it because there's not much we can offer to improve. We did everything to get to 93. And you can see that we improved it by another 30 points, right? We went from 63 to 93 with a trade and non-aggression, which is why we had to do the marriage first. You can see the marriage is giving us the 50 points, whereas the treaties, it's netting us 50 total, but that treaty is really just the combination of the mercenary treaty, the non-aggression, and the trade agreement. So the marriage is worth a ton. So our wife is doing a great job. All right, we're done here. We got all the money we want from him. Our wife is gone. We're now single. There's a mission asking us to fight the general of the faction, or just the faction, any army from that faction. But we can't do it. This is going to fail. But the next time we get a treaty, we'll get this again. So you can see this is divided into tiers with 100 points. We're losing for a turn. Sadly, it doesn't tell you how much you have currently, which is a major flaw of this, because the total doesn't show you the total. Current is showing -4. It's 40. You always start out at 40 and you get 10 turns to do something. And for 10 turns, we're going to do nothing. All right, now we're done with our wife. We're going to kick out every single member of our court because none of them are useful. So we're going to be banishing them because losing 5 points of satisfaction for 5 turns doesn't hurt us if we are alone, right? Our leader is not going to lose any satisfaction. So we're getting free 800 for each of our generals. There's 4 of them. This is going to be worth 3,200. Off he goes. Off he goes. Off he goes. And off he goes. Sure, your son is going to be a little sad because he does have satisfaction, but he's your heir. So he should be fine, especially at level 1. There's no desire for anything. I have seen kids leave factions before, but it's very rare, and basically you had to have really bad satisfaction. Maybe your intimidation point all disappeared in 1 turn, and your kid had some bad traits like disloyal. But in this case, our son's fine. And that's it. That's all we can really do on turn 1. We're going to clean up our retinue as well. The generals are not the only one we're firing. We're also firing all the units. Just basically saving money for redeployment because he's too far away from where we want him. So we're going to recall him and resummon him over here because this is actually quite a walk. And now we are down to building. I'm not going to talk too much about bandit buildings aside from you have different buildings for counties. They give different bonuses. There's whole guides on this on the channel for bandit buildings. You can definitely go check them out. We're just going to convert them from the Han building to our building. And the one trick you can keep in mind when playing as bandit faction in the future is that if you're capturing an enemy county and you see that their retinue, right now we can't see it, but let's see this. We can see the retinue. 4 unit means level 1. 6 unit or 7 unit with the leader means level 2. If they ever go above 1 full stack into like 1 half stack or 2 stacks, then you know they're beyond level 3. And since your buildings can only be converted to level 3, when you take those counties, you can choose the second option, loot and occupy. Because you lower a level, you pick up a bunch of cash, and you still convert it into your max level building. So you don't actually lose out on construction costs and time. You actually save on that because you actually end up getting the wealth from the looting, and then you can convert it still to your top tier building. Just a little trick to play as bandits. And the first building we're going to do is the conversion. That's not going to trigger your economy growth. We'll end up building the tribute hall just because I'm greedy and I want this long-term minus 10% construction cost in the commandery, and also I want more faction-wide post-battle loot income for all the fighting we'll do. And then the last thing we'll do is look at our reforms. I'm not going to go too deep into this. It's based on your starting location, obviously based on the map. The good ones here are the ones over here that gives extra campaign movement. Also, they unlock units. Here we want shock cavalry. Cavalry are the premium unit in the game, also the premium unit for bandits who have very bad default cavalry units. But we're not going to just gear ourselves over here first because we have a super good reform here called the Healers of Qizhou, which gives 5% replenishment alongside other things, including pretty good horse archers that are really cheap but really bad at charging. So we'll start here, 4 turns, and then we'll start just gunning for these 2 movement. And the reason why you want campaign movement is because you have the loot system, which overburdens your armies and make them move really slow. So you really want to counteract that with this 30% here. Alright, that's the short version of everything. I think our faction's ready to go. Let's continue. Alright, let's pump out our leader. No one else is in the faction, super sad, but don't worry. In spring, you'll actually likely see many unique characters. The more unique characters have been added into the game, the more likely they show up in pools. I had got test runs where I got Zhou Tai, Jiling, Chen Gong, and Yu Jin by like turn 8. And then we confederated Zhengjiang, and then we had 6 generals with Zhang Yan. They're all unique, all incredibly strong, and yeah, pretty good run. Alright, time to trigger our economy growth with Tribute Hall, which will give additional 10% for everything, which is great. And we can just proceed because we have no movement. And you can see that here's where we have an option for loot. You can see the movement being decreased, and next turn if we go all the way up, we'll actually lose 25% movement, and that's okay. You could manually manage this by changing your stance. I don't really want to go too deep into this just to save time. But basically, you need to have some supplies because we'll be sieging for a little bit. Alternative method of sieging, but we'll still be sieging. So we actually want to have a little supply on us, even though we'll move slower into their territory. But let's continue. Alright, we triggered this mission. Our next one is Growing Might. We don't really care about these. At this point, our early game mission's done. Your economy growth is pretty much the most important one. And here we have a lot of choices. The very tempting ones to build this, but don't because it's like 3 turns, takes a lot of time. Build this one up first, 2 turns, leaves you some flexibility on the last turn, and also doubles your retinue, which makes it pretty much defensive powerhouse in a lumberyard. Let's do that, and we're on our way. We'll be trespassing into Zhengjiang's territory. We're not at war, so she will not declare war on us, and we're going to get as deep as we can. And preferably, we would even like to march, even though it's kind of dangerous. If she declares war on us, we will be in trouble. So actually, let's just play it safe. We don't have to march. We can play it safe and do exactly what we want. Now, characters. This turn is not spring. No one interesting. Pass on that. Picked up a new item. We're not equipping him with anything, just so that we decrease the variance between, my guide and your Let's Play, because you're going to be getting different items than me. So we got the items, we're saving up a bunch of cash, everything's fine. You can look into her faction now. She's married. This is just the way game is. She's marrying Ying Li, and if you kill him, she'll marry someone else. She has a bunch of characters. Yep, I think most likely she'll marry him next, and if you kill him, there's a chance she'll marry him even. But hopefully we won't have to go down that far down the list. I think usually you kill 2 of them and you can catch her single for a moment. Alright, so we're good to go. Let's continue. She wants to sign a deal with us. Sign no deals with her, because right now we are going to go to war with her next turn, so we don't actually want to have anything being broken. So we just reject. Now her army actually left, which is not good. We don't want that. We want her to come back. Now, you can see the movement here. We want to save 50% of our movement, and that means we have to go here. And we have to encamp. The encampment phase, or the encampment stance, is the most powerful thing in the game, because you basically become a gate pass. And if the enemy come attack you and they don't win within the time limit, it's a defeat. And since we only have one general, it's going to be a heroic defeat for them, which will inflict heavy cost for their satisfaction, and also for the general's very high capture chance. So we have chance to get fondness on her, we have chance to capture some of her other generals, we have chance to kill them with the towers from the encampment, so it's all positives. I don't care where she went, we're going to draw her back with a war declaration. And she's going to spot this juicy target here and hopefully come after us. It is spring. 成功机灵 did not fail. And we got another great book, which we can definitely give to someone. So in this case, you definitely would just hire them. Like, there's no reason not to. The only thing that's a little bit troublesome is Jilin comes at way too high of a level. You have to make him your underling, which is administrator. He's not an efficient one, but you got to do what you got to do because the satisfaction on him is just way too low with level 4. So just put him in there. It's not a lot of good bonuses, but you'll live with what you have. And Chenggung, just have him chill. No one's going to be super happy. Everyone's going to actually drop a couple points. Assignment wise, there is no commerce here. There's really no point. If you want him to level up, which is probably a bad thing early on because you don't want him to gain more desire for higher office. So just keep him as level 2, keep him chilled. We'll focus on getting our queen first, and let's continue here. Alright, so she's not back. I think she went down to try to conquer over here. We don't know where she is. And you got to be careful one thing. You cannot encamp inside a city radius. So the trick here, oh, she put her husband in as the administrator, is to put the army here. Now, ideally, she's in here and she's fighting you already. But in this case, we can't, get everything. We just got to patiently wait here. We have infinite supplies. You gain supplies in hostile territory because it's loot. We're just going to wait for her to show back. Come back and fight us. Drag her husband into battle because he's the administrator. And we kill him. And then hopefully we get the marriage deal. All right. Our reform is ready. Now we're just kind of gunning for these. Research. Building's ready. And we can use this one to fully upgrade this. Or we can use it to upgrade the town. I like to do this just because it gives us the most value based on the discount. The higher the cost means the more discount we got, the higher the base cost. We're just going to do that. And that's pretty much how we're going to use your economy grows. And we're just going to wait for her to show back up. Come on, where is the AI tunnel vision? I mean, Dongzhuo's ready tunnel vision. Look at him. He's already sailed over, annex this. He's going to annex that. He's going to come right up here. But where is Zhengjiang's army? Interesting. Pass. You can see them slipping into madness here. And there's nothing to do but wait. Alright. Sun Jian's dead. Knock knock. Still not showing up. And we keep waiting. Oh, you can, give him an item. Everyone has a stone pig. It's only going to slow it down. It's not going to make it better. But let's continue. He wants to sign a deal, military access, but we have to pay, so nope. We pick a relationship, doesn't really matter. Let's improve our relationship with him. That's a really good satisfaction book. Just gonna let him hold on to that. Still gonna be angry, still gonna give us a debuff. But where is Zhengjiang? She didn't even take this. There's a tool maker down here, but I don't know if she took that or not. I can't do anything. I have to wait. This is definitely not going as planned, but she should come back eventually. We just gotta kill that husband. Yep, we just gotta kill that husband. Now, you're saying I could go in and kill him, but that's assuming he is in the garrison here. Because I've done test runs where he wasn't made the administrator, but instead he was in the army with Zhengjiang. So there is a variance here. All you can do is really patiently wait until you can drag him into a fight so you can kill him. He is luckily almost always on the field. I haven't seen a situation where he's on the bench and you have no access to him, but this is pretty much as, bad luck as I have seen in all my test runs, and that's fine. We'll fight through, adversity here. Of all these buildings, there's only a couple things to take note. Food tent is really good for prestige. You know, you assume it's for food. It's not. It doesn't give you food. It gives you loot, public order, population growth, but really 5 points of extra prestige compared to everything else. So if you're trying to tier up, that's the building you would spam in all your counties, and you actually tier up pretty quickly. But the most useful building, if you're trying to go for an income commandery, which this is not, you know it's income commandery when you have 3 counties, because counties is where all your income happens for bandits. You have a lack of base buildings. So essentially, if you see that you have 3 counties, you build 3 black markets. If you don't have 3 counties, you will want to build preparation camp so you can get better research rate and also better spying. Mustering ground is useful if you know you're fighting in this commandery. If you are not fighting, this is really not that helpful. So in this case, preparation camp, and that's pretty much it. And we just have to keep waiting. Alright, our patience is sort of rewarded as they have summoned a general. It doesn't have to be Zhang Yan. Actually, if Zhang Yan is not fighting you, it's even better, because there is always the risk of your tower killing her twice, and you can actually kill her, which is obviously not good. And we'll see what happens when we lose our mercenary contract. It's not a big deal. Happens on turn 11. Alright, at this point, upgrade your city until you get another building slot. This here, as we talked about, there's 3 branches. I prefer this branch. It's my favorite branch because the other 2 are just bad. This one, improved diplomatic relationship with all Yellow Turban factions. Unfortunately, there's not that much interactions with Yellow Turban factions. This is more of a historical nod to the fact that Zhang Yan started out as a Yellow Turban and then became a bandit. The 2 spies are nice, but you can gain spies through reforms, so you don't really need this, and the relationship is just completely useless, so just don't go down this line. Relationship with Han factions is nice, but I find it unnecessary to play the diplomacy game as Zhang Yan. 2 underlings, usually I love administrators, but in this case, underlings are a lot weaker than administrators, and your income is based on counties, so sometimes you don't even want to hold the capital. If you don't hold the capital, you can't put in an administrator, so it's kind of pointless. Therefore, just go for the extra income from fighting. So this is the way to go. And speaking of administrators, note that the bandits are not Han factions, so the prestige point upgrade does not apply to you. You will get set amount of increases to your trade, to your spies, to your assignments, to your armies, to your underlings each time you tier up. It's all preset. Alright, let's see if they come and attack us, because we've been waiting forever. And we get our first battle. And she drags the garrison because we're close enough at the edge, which is what we want because we want to drag him in. Now please note, this general, because he's a sentinel, he has a background that gives him stock, or a skill that gives him stock. So you can't see him on the battlefield, which is a little bit tricky, but we can still do this. So let's jump into the fight. Alright, for those of you who have seen my This is Total War with Gong Sun Zan, you guys know exactly what's about to happen. We're about to loop them until they all die. But if you have never seen that, the idea here is we want to drag them out, obviously with a full timer. We automatically win with encampment battles. Or in this case, if we can just kill all of them with their towers, it also works. And that's what we're going to try to do. We'll do this on 3 times speed. And our goal is to kill him. That's the guy who needs to die. Now we just need to loop. They'll try to catch us. Remember, we are not only unbreakable, we're also fatigue immune, and we also get 4 heals. It's almost impossible to kill us. You can literally walk him up to any faction in the game and use this strategy right outside of their capital, and you can kill armies of any size. Preferably you get a better horse, because 97 speed, not that high. But because we're fatigue immune, we should outlast most AI generals. So he's with him, you can see how he's invisible unless you get close to him. That's fine. Just leave him till the end. We want to loop to make sure all the troops die first. And then you want to chase him down and kill him on the battlefield. Because you don't want him to get captured. Because that leaves a very awkward situation where you have to execute him, which makes the faction hate you. But if you kill him on the battlefield, it's all fair game, you know? So we want to kill him on the field. That's the key. Oh, so certain times when looping, when they're trying to enter into your place, you don't want to loop too far away from the troops, or else they take shortcuts like this. It's fine. You can just recapture it. Let them walk out first. He's still chasing you. Oh, they didn't capture that one. Oh, they did. It was so close. Alright, we'll just loop them onto this side. It's fine. And then we can recapture those later. You don't need all 4 sides to do loop. You can loop like, you can do a figure 8 here all day and you can still get the tower damage. And you always have the side towers. Now, if he gets close to you, you know, he shows himself and then he gets shot. I don't know why he wants to be close to me. I want him to lose all morale from army loss, so we're trying to kill off the rest of the army. Our goal here is just to kill the husband. Alright, just walk back to these guys, let them get killed. They're throwing traps on the ground, which will only slow themselves down. Where's that general? Show yourself. Where did he go? Oh, there he is. Alright. Wait till all the units have routed. Where are you? There you are. Morale's 46. Army loss has not kicked in yet. We'll do a mending even though we're full health, just to give us some extra armor. It's free heals. Alright, he's about to go, and then we chase. Don't let him run away. He's slower than you if you chase him. So you can totally kill him here. Catch up. Whack whack. There we go. Husband's dead. Alrighty. So easy win here. And we killed both generals. Now it's a question of how fast she can remarry. Please don't remarry. Let's make it easy on us. She didn't remarry. Alright. Then right now we go into diplomacy mode. Time to play the gentleman. So we want a peace deal. Obviously she doesn't want to give us a peace deal because we just killed her husband. And we recently declared war on her and she hates our guts. Alright, all check marks. We are going to promise the world to her so that we can join our factions through marriage. Very bad right now. Negative 125 opinion, which means if we can keep shifting her opinion, this can happen because there's no negative to this. So first things first, we will be offering her cash. And we'll be offering her cash. So all sorts of money. The only money we'll never get back is the cash here. But we have so much of it, so don't worry about it. But max this one out first, because this will actually get back. Once we merge, her cash is our cash. Our promised cash to her disappears. Let's see how much we need here. So you want to keep this one at the maximum. 15 is the maximum you can get from any source. I would not give them any items because you will not get those back. Only the items equipped on her will be given back to you, and any item you give her this turn, you're not going to see again because she's not going to have a turn to give it back to you. Like the moment you kill her husband, you secure that marriage. You don't let it go for another turn. So we're going to have to give her some cash. Oh, also food. Right. Her food is, you know, your food is her food, and then when you're married, her food is your food. So save you some cash here, because the cash, as I said, is not coming back to you. So about 4,550. 650. 25. There we go. So 46.25, 813, 3 food. Get this piece deal done. Doesn't matter. You can see immediately it goes from negative 33 to positive 1 on the trending. Right? We're not at 1 yet, but we're at negative 33 right now, right? That's our current, that's 36. Pretty bad. And if we look here, if we want a marriage deal now, it's still bad. So we can still see the evolution of going from unfriendly to neutral to friendly to very friendly to best friends. Because we're going to get to best friends here. And right now, any sort of deal that we typically can do is going to have a really bad value. And we're not going to do this. So what we want to do, this is actually harder than usual because we waited so long that I believe, oh, we lucked out. It's going to get harder next turn because we'll break our mercenary contract. So I'm glad we got the husband killed right now. It's taken a lot longer than I'm used to seeing in test runs. But this is probably the latest I've ever seen it. All right, now we're just going to shower her with gifts, right? We have money here. Seemed like 813 was worth 15. Is that still the case, Zhang? Yep. So we're going to gift her 813 because it's fine. Her money will be our money. We're now at 51. And we can start paying her in pennies to shift that amount above negative, you know? Negative 14.
请坐，我们谈谈吧。如此甚是慷慨，
All right.
多谢了。
Let's see what the value is right now.
谈些什么？
Negative 85. We're getting there. And then, obviously, we want to shift it to maybe, let's say, above 15.
这是你我友谊的象征。要谈些什么？
23. Alright, so we are in the friendly mode now. This is a dating simulation right now where we throw pennies at the girl. We gone down 10 points. And right now it's going to be this type of shift going forward. So we can get to 60, obviously get something there. We can even offer her tribute. You know, it's promising our future payment to her. We can do this last because it will reduce the amount of money we have on hand. We can do this one more time with everything we have. We don't have 813 anymore, but we can still promise her 813, which is where we're exploiting this thing a little bit. Negative 39. The reason why we can do this is because we have cash on hand. The game will let us overpromise if we have cash on hand. So I can do this as many times as I want. And you can see that we are getting the trending amount over 150. Now it's about throwing pennies at her. Right? You could also use this. This is a perfectly legal way of doing this, and then once you confederate her through marriage, she won't say a thing. But you can easily do that. It's the same thing at the end. Basically, anything you promise her is getting canceled the moment she becomes your wife, which is not how real life works, guys. That's how you end up in a divorce. Now this is like when you're taking them out on dinner, everything costs like, relatively one, and those are like the big gifts. And then once they become your best friend, you pop the ring and you get married, and then all the deals are off. We're over 60 by the way, so you can also look at the value if you want. We're down to only negative 60, big dip.
This
120. This will take a while just because the max is only 150. To save us a little time, we're just going to overpromise one more time. You can do this too, obviously. It's just because the result's going to be the same. If we ship the upward limit, we can get better deals. And for those of you who are asking before, one of the most asked questions I have is, how do you confederate Liu Biao as Liu Bei? Same thing. You have to boost your relationship above at least 150, if not 250, 350. And you have to use this method basically to kind of get them to a place where they like you. Okay, we're getting there. See, this is much faster. We're just trying to speed things up here. And saving pennies. Alright, we're now best friends. And what can we do, best friends? Can we get married? Not yet. So it's time to test the next threshold, because this is unusually negative. I have gotten this deal done. Recently broke deals. Right, so there's an extra layer to this right here. I think they're counting the mercenary contract against us because we are at 0 points. Because the last time I did this, it was super fast. And we didn't break any deals, right? There's no deal that we broke. We legally declared war on them and fought them straight up. and we never had to break any deals. The only deal that broken is because we gone 10 turns and we didn't do a thing. It's a 0 right now, so it's already dead, and the game is treating as if we broke a deal. Well, then I guess we just have to keep up our efforts. Time to find more thresholds. So 250. 300. But we have to keep giving them 1. 195. I'm gonna just make it like 500 real quick. That way we trend up a lot quicker. Because the threshold we're looking for is really like, you know, what our current value is. 401. Alright, we didn't break 250, but we can also look, see if it changed anything. No, we didn't change anything. So we didn't reach the next threshold, whatever that next threshold is. So we're over 250. Let's see if that changes anything. It doesn't, which is very interesting. So what is the next threshold? We're at, let's get it over 500. I wonder if the delay just messed us up to the point where it's never going to go down. But I'm pretty sure there should be more thresholds. Because I doubt there's... Okay, so the deal that I pushed through was positive 4.7. She was willing to marry us, basically. But in this case, we're not seeing that. Which probably has to do with the early deal which we broke, which means if we want to adapt this strategy, we just don't offer the mercenary contract, because that only brought us back, you know, a bit of extra money. We didn't need that. You know, we probably got in total 34, we got 170, 200, and then 140, 151. So we got like 213, 151. We got like 364 on turn 1 from diplomacy deals with Liu Yu. If we get just the regular amount of a trade deal plus just a regular marriage deal, 6.1, we would have probably still got close to like 150. Sure, it's like 200 less for like 10 turns, but we wouldn't have this broken deal that we have to deal through right now, because I was trying to get it done before the 10 turns. But it's still a good experiment to see how far we can push diplomacy. This is also the same strategy that Liu Bei can use to confederate the whole map on turn 1. Yeah, I don't think it's going down. I think she has that default amount. We can... No, I'm going to lift it over 500 to see if anything will change. Maybe 600 might be a magic number. It's good that we have so much cash on hand because we can keep promising. As long as we don't bankrupt ourselves, the game will let us promise all this cash. That's us joining her. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is not happening. I guess we would have to adapt by not signing that deal. But I want to see if there's just no more threshold after 150. Because there's no more colors, right? So maybe the game only designed it to 150. And any degree of, you know, relationship beyond that is worthless. Which would be kind of bad, in my opinion. Alright, we're over 500. Nothing. Keep pushing it. 600. Because 60 was a threshold. Maybe 600 is a magic number here. 615. Nope. I mean, We can also do this, but she's unlikely to say yes. But it's also funny because we just ended a war with her. We can also offer this, you know, just to, for value. But I'll probably do that after we run out of cash. That's like our last option. I mean, we might as well keep limit pushing, because if this is not the time to experiment, then what is? And I'm like extremely curious how far we can push this. Like if we get her over 1,000, will she still not marry us? Almost there. Over 1,000 trending. And we still have about 1,000 to offer, so we'll actually get exactly there. I don't think we can offer anymore. Oh! Oh, bankruptcy. Yeah. Look at that. So now we can't do that anymore. Can we? Oh, the game will still let us? Can we still offer? Because that would be broken. Oh, wow. Okay, it doesn't matter. We just need to have more than 813 in the bank to keep offering it. That's the limitation, I think. I think it's like... well, we're not 1,000 yet, so let's see what happens when we get closer to 1,000. I don't think anything is going to happen. If it goes to 1,000 and nothing happens, I'm sure the developer didn't add any values after that, because, you know, if they don't bother to add anything after 150, they're not going to add anything at 1,000. But it's still kind of funny to see the value at 1,000. But it should be a pretty easy, you know, adaptation to this strategy, where we just don't offer that mercenary contract on turn 1. Nothing else would be broken. We have so much cash on hand. Alright, let's just see what 1,000 relationship looks like. Ooh, best buds. Marriage? Ultimatum? Ha! It worked! Negative 26, maybe because we had 1,000 relationship. But regardless, pushing it beyond 150 does nothing. So in this case, we still got it done. So it's definitely doable, even in this worst case scenario. And we pick up Growing Might because she has an army on the field. We send any character on assignment, hold any settlement, and all our beginning missions are done. We pick her up without any injury traits, because if you fight her in that situation, it's very likely she gets injured because she will get taken out by the tower. In this case, it's probably the best case scenario. Obviously, we went through a lot of trouble with diplomacy, but the outcome is great. And now you can just make her your heir. Your son can, you know, take a backseat here. Now, anyone can be your heir. They don't have to be family, because the bandit used the system of next in line, so it's actually pretty easy to get people into your heir. But the bonuses combined, king and queen, complete, and we get to pick up some more free territory. This deal will time out. I'll show you guys what happens when we time out, although a lot of these new guys will probably hate us and leave. Faction grudge, who do you think you are? Lack of purpose, he is gonna leave us, isn't he? Oh, because we have a eunuch being equipped. What are you doing? Take it off. Ew. Although he can probably leave. Doesn't matter. We just want to showcase the mercenary treaty. And don't even dies, but we can skip over this because we want to see this. The mercenary treaty is gone. We failed to fulfill our mission. Ball of Tyrant happened. Failed promise. This is the punishment. -5 points with all factions. No big deal. But what hurts the most is we become untrustworthy. The ultimatum is separate. That's what we did with Zhang Yan. But immediately,
说吧，
look at that. Doesn't hurt. Immediately offer a deal again, and we can actually go fight them. They're right here. But that's the idea. Or you can go to Gongsun and say, I'll help you crush
谈点什么呢？
Liu Yu. Easy stuff, right? Go crush him. So this is a great start. You pick up Zhang Yan's character, you pick up land, no competition for you now. You're surrounded by Han Empire. Dong Zhuo's forces will come up. I think Li Jue's army will be right here. You do have to fend that off, but with your generals, you'll be fine. And then easy picking everywhere else. Sure, Gongsun is going to be a little bit challenging, but really it's not. Especially with offensive ambushes, you actually have a pretty much a field day with your generals now that you have Zhongjiang with you. You pretty much took out a headache. You can get rid of these generals on the turn you grab them, so you don't have to pay this much upkeep. You should, clean up your roster. We just advanced a turn to see the mercenary treaty disappear just to prove a point. But hopefully you guys enjoy this guide, and you can use this strategy for Zhang Yan's faction. For Zhongjiang, it's almost impossible, because the wife rarely gets summoned onto the field, and so this probably works this way only. Unfortunately, I think the faction mechanic for Zhongjiang is stronger, so you're gonna have to find her a different husband. But in this case, it works out very well for Zhang Yan, and hopefully you guys get to enjoy this start. And that's gonna do it for us. See you guys next time. Bye!